Hey everyone, it's Scoopman 5000. We're back for another video, and today we're going to be going on the road, and we're going to Eternal Con 2025. We're going to go around, look for some toys, some action figures, then we'll bring it back, and we'll see what I picked up. So Eternal Con, I've been before a couple years ago, but I feel like I've missed it the last few years. It used to be at Nassau Coliseum. This time they were across the street at Hofstra University. When you first walk in, you check in, and then there's this balcony view, right? The bleacher seats. And on that upper level was the artist alley. I found my way downstairs, and here I am in the pit, in the vendors. Now, right against the wall, the first thing I see is a good sign, some animated McFarlane DC figures. We're off to a good start there. Right next to them, this guy had some interesting stuff, some old school McFarlane horror stuff, some adult style action figures, and then in his little case, he had the whole set of green card Hasbro. So that's pretty cool. Not stuff you see every day. And then right into the corner was the first of a couple of like modern action figure booths. There was like 2 or 3 of these in here. And really most of them was stuff that's either relatively new or maybe a year or 2 old and just doesn't sell very well. So nothing that exciting. The best one for the modern figures was definitely Jabba's Palace. They had a bunch of cool Star Wars stuff, as the name implies. Some carded newer figures I haven't seen, like this Shadows of the Empire, Luke and Leia, and then also some Phantom Menace style figures, which were really tempting. And then definitely they had the best multiverse selection here at Joba's. We're definitely going to be picking 1 or 2 of these guys up, even on top some of the vehicles and some of the new Superman figures. Right across from them was a staple of Comic-Con, at least since I've been going to them, and that's this minifigure booth. And I say minifigure, not Lego. These are bootlegs. I'm pretty sure they're transparent about that, but I could see like a parent or a kid not really knowing that. But they have all sorts of video game characters, Marvel, DC, Star Wars. A lot of these are designs stolen actually from customs, not stolen from Lego themselves, but they have some of that too. And I say stolen, it's not the people selling them, it's the people in China who make these bootlegs. But I love bootlegs, man. I mean, I'm not going to be apologist about it. So it's almost a tradition for me. I always pick up some minifigs. So we're going to be doing that today as well. Another Lego thing was this whole recreation of the Warriors. He had even like a banner of it. The guy said, I'm known for that. I'm the Lego Warriors guy. But he had like the whole boardwalk set up and all the minifigures, so that was cool. There was another booth selling bootleg minifigures. This one was cool because they had a catalog, and this was something like I would have made as a kid. I would have printed out these pages and put them in a binder like this, so that kind of brought me back. They also had these 3D printed, like large scale figures, and that was kind of tempting, but I'm sure they were probably expensive. Based on the price of their minifigures too, we'll get into that. Moving on over towards the middle, there was a cool retro booth, and this was probably the best retro figure selection, a lot of loose stuff. We had Marvel superheroes, DC superpowers, vintage Star Wars, Thundercats, Ninja Turtles, some cool carded stuff, these old school Spider-Man figures, and some more superpowers and superheroes. So that was cool to see. And there was another booth, really awesome, that had this whole boxed up display of superpowers, vehicles, and playsets. Really beautiful box art there. I'd assume these are all complete. And that same booth was really a bunch of old school stuff, Forbidden Planet and like all these really retro, like 80s style and even before. One booth had this really great selection of Mattel DC figures, DC Universe Classics, DC Multiverse, and even some of the movie masters from Man of Steel, which was cool to see. That same place had some cool Toy Biz Marvel figures, including a Ang Lee style Hulk, and then some of the old Marvel Legends all carded up in their plastic box. And then moving into some carded Star Wars stuff, including some really cool Revenge of the Sith box sets and these little micro fighters, which I remember seeing. That brings us into another booth that had some Revenge of the Sith toys, but also had a really great selection of NECA Cult Classics, McFarlane Movie Maniacs, and also Mezco's, I think, Cinema of Fear. All old school horror figures from the early 2000s, late 90s, which I absolutely adore. That sort of piece of action figure history, right? The Movie Maniacs and Cult Classics in particular. Some other random stuff at these conventions, you always find like mall ninja stuff. So what I mean by that is these big ridiculous swords with patterns on them. Then also like a bunch of pocket knives and butterfly knives and stuff like that. Similar to that, but its own niche is these Nerf guns. They were customized to look all steampunk, you know, just like spray painted in bronze or something. But I appreciate stuff like that. I'm never gonna ever go out of my way to look at it. but walking by at a Comic-Con, just something to look at, something different. Obviously there's Funko Pops all over. I'm out of that game for a long time now, but there was one that was cool because it was a whole wall of signed wrestler Funko Pops, including some Bray Wyatts in there. So if those are legit, I don't know if he has any sort of COAs that come with him, but really great collection if they are legit. Obviously there's comics there. I don't really buy floppies. I'm a trade paperback kind of guy, but I did see some cool like She-Hulk and Venom covers that I like looking at. And then the final sort of corner of collecting that I was really getting into here was the video games. I'm somewhat of a video game collector, I guess. I only really buy them if I really want to play them. I am very nostalgic, right, for the PS2, kind of early 2000s era. I'll also look at 360 and GameCube and stuff in that era. Some great ones I did see, but I didn't end up picking up. Like some Soul Calibur was in there. So the Herbs from The Sims, love that. Spawn Armageddon was there. A lot of cool stuff. A lot of cool video game booths there. More than I guess I expected, or I wasn't even really thinking of games, right? I was a toy hunt mood. I ended up with some video games. So with that, we'll go into what I did purchase. And I guess we'll go from like smallest to largest in a way. I wasn't even going to mention this, but I did pick up some Cheetos with Ultraman on them. I was like just about to leave. I did another round. I'm like, what else can I waste money on? So here we go. Got some Japanese snacks. Always a gotcha at these conventions. And another gotcha, like I did mention before, is the minifigures. Every time I go to these conventions, I pick some up. I'm a big Lego guy, but also I have a pretty decent bootleg collection at this point. Always go with DC. That's a safe bet. So I did pick up the Men in Black, Black Adam. The hierarchy of my bootleg collection has changed. To go with Dwayne, I also got my guy John Cena as Peacemaker. That was from the booth with the catalog, and this guy was $10, and I was about to say screw it, but whatever. At that point, I was on my way out again, and I'm like, I didn't spend that much money today, so might as well. Throw in John Cena, Peacemaker, and then swinging back to the main minifigure booth where I got Dwayne. I also picked up a bunch of clones. So I started because I saw these Galactic Marines, definitely one of my favorite Star Wars troopers. We need a Black series. But Lego's actually finally making these guys. So I got the bootlegs to kind of do my own comparison when they come around. These are like purple. I don't know if that's meant to be its own Legion or if that's just like the China color that they went with in the bootleg factory. Two of those Marines. I got what looks like an ARF trooper to me, or an ARC trooper. I'm not like too versed, but I do appreciate some clones. And then this guy, I don't even know what rank he is, but he almost has like a stormtrooper helmet. And then finally this Commando trooper. This one's done up in the Wolfpack style. I know that Legion, but I got him because I just played through Republic Commando. Now, if they had like Scorch and Fixer and that crew, definitely would pick them up. So I'll be on the lookout maybe at New York Comic Con. Now, getting into action figures, I did pick up this Venom from the Marvel Superheroes by Toy Biz, and I picked it up because of this tagline right here.
Squirt's alien liquid.
I saw that, I had to pick it up, and I saw this tag hanging off for $15. I figured like superpowers or superheroes from Marvel would be like an expensive carded figure, right? Like this is an iconic series, but I guess this Venom, if I had to guess, there's one back here from like this first series. That's probably the one to get. And Alien Squirt Venom is probably a joke. But to me, I'll gladly take it for that. Maybe I'll hang them up over here. You know, I'm not like a Toy Biz Marvel collector, but I love Venom. Take that, 10 inches of Venom. Now we got Alien Squirt. Up next, I was probably the only person in this whole room that would have bought this. This is the Clive Barker Tortured Souls from McFarlane Toys back in the day. I love these like McFarlane, almost like gross out horror figures. They're really like statues, but some of the best sculpted detail and paintwork on a figure in this scale ever. And, you know, these are things that will not ever get made again. So whenever I see stuff like this, I've loved to pick them up. And I have a pretty cool little display of like some McFarlane Faces of Madness. I got a Riding Hood in there. I have a big Clive Barker statue. Just some random stuff. I do really admire these figures. This one in particular was Attacks. This is from Tortured Souls, The Fallen, Series 2. Not the most exciting one. It's pretty like, I don't know what you want to say, like cliche. It's just like half naked babe. Let's just give her like gross arms popping out. They get really crazy, these designs. You can even see the silhouettes back here of like guys on like operating tables and hanging from chains and stuff. That's really the great ones from this set, Tortured Souls. But the guy gave it to me for like $15, and like I said, I'm probably the only person in the room who would have bought this. Finally, for action figures, really the main thing I collect is DC Multiverse, and the only one that I thought was worth it there that I didn't own already was this Red Hood Joker in the platinum purple suit. It was 45 bucks, which is about what he sells for last time I checked. He also had the Ragman from this series, which I don't have, but that is not worth 45 bucks. You can get him for like 25 on eBay. So for now, Red Hood was coming home with me. Ragman, you can sit there and rot. And then the last thing, like I said before, was the PS2 games, the video games. I was wearing this shirt actually, JAM Vendetta. I love this game, but I don't own it physically. And guess what was looking right at me? At one video game booth. This guy didn't even have a sign up or nothing. It was like a 3D printer booth, and he was just selling games to the side of it. But JAM Vendetta, complete in the box, manual, 20 bucks. Can't beat it. I gave him the 20 very quickly, walked right away, and I was giddy. I was happy. Felt like a bandit. But I did actually end up going back to this guy, and I'm glad I did, because I did find Smackdown, Just Bring It, and also Here Comes the Pain, which is probably the most famous PS2 wrestling game out there. And both of these, I think it was 30 or 35. So for like 55 bucks, 3 absolute banger, classic PS2 wrestling games. Not stuff we usually talk about here on this channel, but trust me, like, this is a big deal. These are 3 major gaps in my PS2 wrestling collection that are now filled. And for that deal, that price, I thought it was fantastic. Definitely the best deal I got the whole day. That's going to do it. That's everything I picked up at EternalCon. Let me know if I'm an idiot for wasting my money on all this crap, or if you think it's cool stuff. If you've ever gone to different conventions, if you've been to EternalCon or New York Comic Con, anything local to you, let me know. Any cool stuff you've ever found, any deals, anything you make a tradition out of buying, like the minifigures. I'll definitely try to get the camera to New York Comic Con and we'll talk about it there. That's like my mecca. I go there every year, and that's like the most exciting day for me. I spend a lot of money, I save up for it, and it's always a fun time, New York Comic Con. So definitely stick around here. In the meantime, if you're into action figures, reviews, unboxings, stuff like that, you're in the right place. See you guys in the next video.